Introducing the Honourable Phryne Fisher, a murder mystery series written by Kerry Greenwood and first published in 1989 by Poison Pen Press. It's such a great series that it has spawned multiple books, almost 20 of them in fact, a TV series in 2012, and even a spin-off series in 2019, following her long-lost niece, Miss Fisher. Now, the brilliance of Miss Fisher is not the mysteries themselves, but in the indomitable Phryne Fisher herself. Now, I must confess to my great shame that I only got into reading the Honourable Miss Phryne Fisher books when I started watching the TV series way back in 2012. When it came to Netflix, my mother binged the crap out of it, watching 3 seasons in less time than it took for me to get there. I'm still working my way through season 3 at the moment, but I felt that in honor of the soon-to-be-released movie, Miss Fisher and the Crypt of Tears, I would take a look at the Phryne Fisher books and do a little bit of investigating myself into the main differences between the books and the series, and share with you guys what I love so much about Miss Phryne Fisher. Now, I must confess that it is to my great shame that I didn't read the books first. As a writer, I should always start with the books, shouldn't I? Well, I must confess, though, I did enjoy the series. Essie Davis makes a brilliant Miss Fisher, and although the murders aren't really that hard to work out in the TV show, you can usually guess them by the end. It is great fun to watch, mostly for Essie Davis's portrayal of the brilliant Miss Fisher. And I found that while reading the books themselves, all I can see is Essie Davis, even though I think Miss Fisher herself is a lot younger in the books. Essie Davis just brings so much life to the character. She's a lot like David Suchet in Hercule Poirot. You just can't differentiate the two. You can't bring them apart in your mind's eye anymore. And I think that's a brilliant thing to do, and Essie Davis certainly deserves a lot of credit for her work. Now, the differences between the books and the TV series are numerous but quite small. For example, Miss Fisher's brilliant butler has a wife, Mrs. Butler, in the books, and she is as good as he is, and great fun besides. I also think that Dot Williams is better characterized in the books. In the series, especially in the first, she can be really annoying at times with her wide-eyed, naive Catholic girl shtick. But in the book, she's a lot more world-weary. She knows about things, and in fact, Miss Fisher finds her about to kill a man in the first one, which I think is pretty solid stuff from a wide-eyed Catholic girl. Now, Dot isn't the only one with a bit of different characterization. The butlers are also different, as are Sek and Bert, the 2 cab drivers who end up helping Miss Fisher through a lot of her mysteries, but they're different in subtle kind of ways. I would say they are better rounded in the books because Sek is a lot quieter man. He stands out more than he does in the series. It's just nicer to have defined character traits, something which they don't have so much in the TV series. But then again, the TV series is mostly all about Essie Davis as Miss Fisher, which I don't mind at all, because she's just such great fun to watch. The other characters are just kind of there to play off her, whereas in the books, they get more time to be fleshed out by Kerry Greenwood, who is an amazing writer. I will say I actually enjoy the books more than the TV series, mostly because the books get a lot more racy. Miss Fisher is able to do more things like take off her clothes that you can't do in a PG-13 series. And it's quite fun to see her do certain things. And I quite like the characterization of Dot. As I said, she's just more fun in the books. And I think Kerry Greenwood's great strength is the way she just keeps things moving at a hell of a clip. Because you just can't stop reading. They are so easy to read. You can easily get through 2 or 3 of her books in an afternoon or two. Lazy Sunday reading at its best. That's what the Miss Fisher series is. But I will admit that it is not really the plots that make them a different series, or even the rather unique 1920s Melbourne setting. In fact, what makes them unique and brilliant is Miss Fisher herself. Of course, that's not to say the setting isn't amazing as well, although it is the fantasy 1920s. It's the 1920s that we wish we'd lived in, not the real one. It's a place of parties and great wealth in Miss Fisher's case, and joy, and there is some darkness to it. But it is not as depressing as it could have been, especially with a female lead character. Because the 1920s weren't exactly the best of times for women's rights. They were coming into their own, but it took a really long time for it to happen. I think Greenwood has made a good choice by making Miss Fisher kind of wealthy and putting it in kind of a fantasy world. She can hit those fun little feminist moments, make fun of the attitudes of the time, which could get quite appalling, and keep it light-hearted throughout. Because let's face it, we all wish we lived in the fantasy version of the 20s, the time of flappers and cocktails and things like that. All of us would like to have been Miss Fisher at one time or another, flying planes and just enjoying high society life while solving the odd murder or two. Or maybe that last one's just me. But as I said before, the brilliance of Miss Fisher's murder mysteries isn't the plots or the setting, it's the brilliant Miss Fisher herself, who I believe is a hell of a feminist icon, and I shall go into why. Firstly, I want to ask you to think of a female character that is promiscuous and sleeps around with men and the occasional woman and is not judged for it. I'll give you a while because there are not many. Badass female characters in movies are usually characterized in a very stock character manner. They're usually cold, emotionless, and follow the same sort of beats that most action heroes do. They usually go around kicking and punching and doing the odd sort of thing. For reference, look at almost any of Claudia Black's characters. Now, I've got nothing against Claudia Black as an actress. I think she's very fun, but she does tend to play the same character over and over again. Not that that's really a bad thing, it just means she's typecast and she is quite good at what she does. But it is fun to have a different character every now and again. And I think the best comparison I've got for Miss Fisher is James Bond. Bond himself might be a bit of a sexist guy if you look at his older adventures, but he was every man's dream back in the day. He was a spy who rode cool cars and went around doing what most men wish they could do. And Miss Fisher is kind of the same, except Miss Fisher is refreshingly very, very open about her sexuality, which I think is one of the best things about her, especially since, even though she sleeps around, not even her maid openly judges her. This is one of the best parts of the series, in my opinion, and it makes Miss Fisher a real feminist icon, because women are usually judged as being slutty or whores, in worst cases, when they sleep around. For some reason, when Bond does it, it's okay. He's allowed to sleep around and it makes him more of a man. But for women, it makes them less of a woman. And if you think about it, that's really fucked up. And our society needs to address that. But in Kerry Greenwood's Miss Fisher's case, that's not a problem. She's going around and she will sleep with who she wants to, flirt with who she wants to, she will drive a fast car, she flies planes, she gets into scrapes, and she always comes out on top. And that's another great thing about her character. She is always in control. She doesn't need rescuing. She doesn't need the great hero to burst through the window and save her from anything. Whether it be coke dealers or murderers or whatever, she can handle herself. When Miss Fisher walks down a street at night, you feel sorry for who she's going to meet, not for her. And that's a huge, refreshing change, because in most movies, TVs, and books, when a woman walks down a lone street at night, we are conditioned to fear for her safety. But with Miss Fisher, she has a little gold gun in her handbag, and she's ready to take on anything. If anything, it's her male companions that are going to get into trouble, and she's the one that's going to have to get them out of it. And I think this is a brilliant thing about her. To have a female character that is not only sure of herself and independent as hell, but always in control and always coming out on top using her wits and her smarts. Her companions do help every now and again, and her male companions do have a use, but it is entirely Miss Fisher's show. And this comes across in the books and the TV series, and I think that is one of the best things about her. She is someone that should really be looked up to. And I think if I had been a young girl either reading this series, although maybe it's not the best for children with its sexual bits in the books, or maybe watching the series as a young girl, I would look up to Miss Fisher greatly. She's one of those characters that should serve as our role model, and that is brilliant. And I think Kerry Greenwood has done a brilliant job with her. So, in the end, really, the main brilliance of Miss Fisher is the character herself. And without her, then it would just be a normal mystery series, perhaps forgotten. Because, as I said before, the plots aren't actually that brilliant. You can usually guess who the bad guy is before it ends, but it's not about the plots. It's about how Miss Fisher handles them, solves them, and goes about her life. She is an amazing character, and I really think more people should hold her up as a feminist icon. And I thank Kerry Greenwood for providing such a brilliantly realized female character in this day and age. It really does feel like the world needs more Miss Fishers, so it's about time writers like me and others got on it. And it's a good thing we have one of the best examples to follow in recent memory.